Okay, this is chapter 6 and 7, and it's the human geography of the United States and Canada. Chapters 6 and 7. The third largest country in both land area and population. So, United States has approaching probably 330 million people, and we are third in size, just behind Russia and Canada in physical size. So third in both of those. The word migration, movement of people within the United States. Since this particular chapter deals with the United States, that's why that word is there. However, migration, you can migrate within any country, but it's movement within the country to another place, and usually a larger group of people. For example, a lot of our ancestors here in Utah were pioneers who traveled across the Great Plains to escape religious persecution, and so they migrated west. The United States moved from a rural agricultural nation to an urban industrialized one, and now we're considered to be the world's sole superpower. Back on the movement from rural to urban, with the Industrial Revolution back in 1760, a lot of machines were being made, a lot of mechanization was taking place, going from doing jobs with hand power or hand tools to mechanized or water power, or later steam and electrical. And so with this, not as many people were needed to grow crops and be farmers. However, there was a need for people to run those machines and to make those machines. And so it worked very well. So many people moved from those rural areas to the larger cities. We are a federal republic. When we pledge allegiance, we say, "And to the republic for which it stands." Powers are divided among the federal government, federal or national government, and the various state governments. So there's rules and laws that affect us here in our state, and there's rules and laws that affect us as citizens within the United States. So our federal or national government and local state governments. Okay, we have the three branches of our federal government. The first is the executive, legislative, and then judicial. So with executive, we've got the picture here in the middle. This is the White House showing the president and vice president. The legislative branch, we've got the U.S. Capitol building. That's where they meet. Legislative down to Congress, and it's the House of Representatives and the Senate. And then our judicial, of course, is the Supreme Court building. And here are the 9 Supreme Court justices. Again, this is the highest court in the land, and it's an odd number for that reason, so that they don't have any ties. Any vote that takes place, there will be a winner. Some of the other courts and things, they have even numbers, and they can be a hung jury or a tie, but not with our Supreme Court. Okay? The United States has the world's largest economy. Sometimes, we struggle here and there. But for the most part, we are a very powerful, strong nation, both economically and agriculturally. We can ship a lot of goods. We can sell those to people, to countries. We can exchange goods. So, very powerful economy. The free enterprise system is an economic system where private individuals own most of the resources, the technology, and the businesses, compared to maybe some communist countries where the government would own or control a lot of the transportation, excuse me, and definitely some of the communication areas within their country. Canada and Mexico are the United States' most important trading partner, and I think on our our next page, it'll discuss a little bit about NAFTA, which goes along with this one. Okay, population in the United States is more than 325 million. Again, I mentioned it's approaching 330. Probably should check that out one of these days. Okay, we got 80% of Americans who live in cities or the surrounding suburbs. A suburban area is what you're looking at here. They're kind of on the outlying areas of a large city. You've got the taller buildings, the downtown areas, and there are people who live there in apartments. But as far as single home, single housing, single family dwellings, I guess you might say, those would be located more to the edge of the city or in the suburbs, suburban areas. We talked about this one previously, I think in chapter 4, but it applies specifically to this area. The Boswash megalopolis stretches for 500 miles and contains 1/6 of the U.S. population. Again, Boston, Massachusetts, down to Washington, D.C. The Midwest is considered America's heartland. It is also the nation's breadbasket. A lot of areas like this, gently rolling hills, a lot of corn and wheat, barley, oats, rye, a lot of those grain crops can be found in those regions. I know, having been there, just miles and miles and miles of farms and cornfields. The South is known as the Sun Belt because of its climate. You can see this area of states in red. I think typically when we hear the word South, we hear or we're referring to the area from Texas east to Florida as the South, but this obviously is the southern part of the United States. And then I usually ask the question about if students know what a snowbird is. It's not a real bird, and it's not talking about the ski resort here in Utah. But a snowbird is somebody who maybe lives, say, in Salt Lake City, Utah, or here in Fillmore, wherever, and they enjoy the summer. We get up to, we can get up to 95, 100 degrees in the summertime, and that's pretty hot. But then the winters can be quite cold, and so those people then would maybe move to an area like Phoenix, Arizona, or Las Vegas, Nevada, where the winters are quite mild. But then before the drastic heat of summer, when it's 115 degrees, then they'll move back to those northern climates. So that's a snowbird. And that's the end of page 1. Thank you.